The Call of Duty Warzone beta takes a vastly different approach than most other battle royales. Death is often more of an inconvenience than the end. Top-tier weapons are consistently easy to come by, and skill will only get you so far when there are no more armor plates to loot. Solos manage to get all of the good without very much of the bad from these trade-offs, but the same cannot be said when you squad up. Still, the impressive 150-player count, tried and tested arsenal for Modern Warfare, and well-crafted, massive map consistently deliver excellent firefights, even if they sometimes lack the genre's trademark high stakes and endless variety. Like Blackout before it, Warzone's Verdansk Battle Royale map mashes up several familiar locations from Call of Duty's past, albeit on a much larger scale. And for a space this vast with a 150-player capacity, Warzone's performance on PC impressed me, as I rarely experienced frame drops or connectivity problems. That feels like a triumph in this context. The only technical area that gave me trouble was on the audio front. It was sometimes difficult to differentiate whether an enemy was in an adjacent room, a few floors above me, or right next to me.
I can hear him. He's right in front of me.
From an environmental standpoint, I had some trouble with mantling onto ledges in certain areas, and the ping system just stops working at a certain distance. But for the most part, exploring Verdansk is a blast. You'll be hard-pressed to find an area devoid of well-crafted structures brimming with weapons, supplies, and cash, which can be redeemed at randomly placed buy stations for things like kill streaks, armor plates, or weaponry and loadout drops. Like the name suggests, the loadout drop lets you equip the guns, gadgets, and perks of your custom Modern Warfare multiplayer loadouts in the middle of a Warzone match. And when I say middle, I really mean beginning. Acquiring the requisite $6,000 to purchase a drop can be done within the first few minutes of a round if all 3 players in a squad chip in. While you'll still need to find ammo and armor elsewhere, using a loadout drop to quickly scratch 2 fully customized weapons and throwables off your shopping list is just a little too easy to make hunting for the randomly placed guns feel worth it. As a result, the stellar weapon variety that fuels other battle royales' replayability and creates exciting asymmetrical firefights isn't really a part of Warzone's main mode. I never jumped with joy when scoring a rare gun from a chest or slain enemy, since I knew my preferred kit was only moments away, if not already in hand. I also didn't see the appeal of straying away from my overkill perk or my favorite weapons from Modern Warfare's multiplayer, especially since trying something new would have effectively meant spending several hours unlocking attachments I didn't already have. Being an offshoot of Modern Warfare, every weapon in the arsenal feels sublime, so it's a shame that I wasn't tempted to use more of them. With that said, loadout drops are less of an issue in solo battle royale, where getting the necessary money is harder, and the risk of calling in a conspicuous package at a hotly contested buy station is more perilous. The prospect of earning cash itself is at least a fun one, thanks to contracts visible on the minimap that task your squad with scavenging supplies, capturing a zone-revealing recon station, or hunting a specific player. These novel mini-missions did a great job of breaking up duller moments and incentivizing movement. Warzone is teeming with new ideas, taking the default squad-based battle royale mode in a more casual direction than Black Ops 4's Blackout. A large factor that contributes to this less than punishing change of pace is just how easy it is to respawn after dying in what is ultimately a last man standing mode. When you perish in battle, your teammates can simply buy you back in at a buy station. This can occur as many times as their wallet allows, but it still feels fair since it gets harder to do as the round progresses. The respawning player is marked via a red flare, and most importantly, it is a deliberate action that someone still in the game has to execute. None of the same can be said for the Gulag. The Gulag is where you go when you die for the first time. Not to the menu to queue for a new match, but rather to the shower room of a prison to take part in a gladiatorial scrap with another dead player for a shot at reincarnation. If it sounds fun, that's because it absolutely is. Even better, while you're waiting, you can hurl stones at the current combatants or feed your incarcerated teammates real-time information about their opponent's location. That last part isn't exactly honorable, but something about the prison makes me okay with it. So while the Gulag itself is a blast, I'm definitely not a fan of the effect it has on the Battle Royale taking place outside. You never really know when, where, or if a player has been respawned via the Gulag, so getting killed or even just damaged by an enemy that drops on top of you feels terrible. Even more so if you were the one that killed them in the first place. On one occasion, I died during a teamfight, won my Gulag match, and respawned directly over the same firefight just in time to spoil what should have been a clear victory for the opposing squad. While that may have been epic from my perspective, being on the receiving end of such a comeback feels utterly unfair, because you're never sure whether enemies are gone for good or just on their way back in. But like loadout drops, the solo mode completely skirts around this problem by deploying victorious Gulag players far away from the location of their death. I wish the default team-based mode followed suit with every respawning player, not just fully wiped squads. I usually prefer to be aggressive in battle royales, but the more I played, the more I realized Warzone's mid to late game just doesn't reward that behavior, which is disappointing. Unlike Blackout and Apex Legends, which guarantee that slain players drop at least some armor, Warzone has no problem leaving you on death's door after successfully eliminating multiple squads. Since enemies only drop what they have on them, and you can only hold 5 armor plates in reserve, 3 of which are needed to heal back to full, if a single encounter towards the end of the game doesn't yield plates, you're in big trouble. As a result, aggressive players or those forced to fight their way into the circle are punished, while campers and opportunistic third parties are rewarded. To hear my thoughts on plunder and the inventory, check out the written review on IGN.com. In spite of these serious concessions to depth made in the name of instant gratification, Call of Duty Warzone's beta remains thoroughly enjoyable. The Battle Royale formula is intact, albeit some of the aspects that usually make it so exciting and replayable are muted here. Given how easy it is to acquire, I'd love to see a reason to try something other than my Modern Warfare multiplayer loadout in the future, and I feel that the armor plate system and Gulag respawning in the squad-based mode are in need of revision. With that said, my time spent in Verdansk was still supremely fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Warzone can build on its already strong foundation in the future. For all things Call of Duty and first-person shooters, keep it right here on IGN.